Hi guys, my name is Jason Mood and I'm a teacher at South Garland High School. And I've made this video for you to watch that's going to help you guys understand what we're going to do in class this year. As you've heard, we're going to do something called the flipped classroom, and this is an introduction to that concept. By the time this video is done, you'll understand how the flipped classroom works, what's expected of a student in the flipped classroom, and what's expected of a parent in the flipped classroom. Before we can talk about the flipped classroom, we have to talk about the traditional classroom, either the one you've had in the past or the one that you grew up with. Now, I know that when I was growing up, way back in the Stone Age, my classes looked like this.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the Great Depression, passed the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
So as you can see in the traditional classroom here, a lot of the students are staring blankly at the teacher, not really doing anything. There's not a whole lot of learning going on. Actually, you can actually see one student asleep on his desk drooling, and I've actually seen that happen in the classroom before, so I know that it happens. So in the traditional classroom, the teacher lectures to everyone in the exact same way and at the exact same pace. The teacher stays at the front of the room most of the time and does not help individual students. Afterwards, the teacher assigns homework for the student to practice at home. But there are problems with the traditional classroom. Not all students learn in the same way or at the same pace. Some students need more personal help from their teacher than what they were getting. And if a student has trouble with their homework and there's no one there to help them, then the homework doesn't get done, and there really wasn't any benefit to homework that doesn't get done. So what's the solution to the traditional classroom? Well, it's the flipped classroom that we're going to do this year in class. In the flipped classroom, the students watch video lessons at home, a lot like the video you're watching now. As a student, you have the power to pause, rewind, or rewatch the lesson whenever you want. This allows you to watch and to learn at your own pace. Because the student watches the lesson at home, there's more time in class for group assignments and activities. The teacher also has more time to help individual students when they need the extra help. Students practice their skills in class instead of at home, aka there's not going to be any more long homework assignments. The benefit of this is that students can get help from me or a classmate when they have a problem on their homework that they can't do. In other words, the student receives an individualized learning plan instead of a one-size-fits-all education they would get from a traditional classroom. Here are the responsibilities of a student in the flipped classroom. Students must watch their video lessons outside of class. This can be done from any internet-capable device, such as a smartphone or an iPad. If internet's not available, special arrangements can be made upon request. Once you've watched the video lesson, you'll have to fill out something called a WISC after the lesson. The WSQ, the WISC, will require students to write a short 3 to 5 sentence summary about the lesson. Also, students will have to write a question they had about the lesson, or a question they think someone else might have, or a possible test question they would get from this material. And again, if internet's not available, students can do the WISC on a piece of paper and turn it in to me the next class. If a student does not complete their video lesson and the whisk before they get to class, they'll watch the video lesson and complete the whisk in class instead of at home. The downside of this is that they will be assigned a mandatory tutorial to make up the time they lost in class. In addition, once the student is done, they will not get to do what the class is doing that day. They will have to work by themselves, and I will basically have seat work for them to do instead. Here are the responsibilities of a parent in the flipped classroom. Parents need to make sure their students have a quiet time and place to watch their video lesson, preferably with headphones. If internet's not available, parents need to make time for their students to get to school, either before or after, to watch the lessons with me. Or, if that's not possible, other arrangements can be made by request. The flipped classroom provides learning at each student's individual pace. It provides more time for individual help for a student when they need it. And it also provides an individualized learning plan for each student. As a student, you need to watch your video lesson at home, complete the whisk before class, and then if you can't do that, you need to make special arrangements with me to get it done before that class. As a parent, you need to provide a quiet space for your students to watch the lesson. You also need to help your student get to school for tutorials if they can't watch the lesson at home.
That's all, folks.